Okay, so picture this. You've got this industrial giant, right? And its entire engine, the thing that makes it go, runs on coal. But then the world starts saying, hey, we're kind of done with coal. What do you do? Well, that's the exact problem facing PT United Tractors, a massive company in Indonesia. We're going to dive into how they're trying to pull off this incredible feat, swapping out their entire engine while the machine is still running full speed.
So you can see the dilemma, right? How does a company whose whole identity is wrapped up in coal prepare for a future where coal is, well, not the future? We're not talking about a small tweak here. This is a top to bottom, complete reinvention of the business. Let's get into it.
All right, first things first. Who exactly is United Tractors? Well, let me tell you, they're no small fry. We're talking about a company that's been around since 1972. For over half a century, they've been a pillar of Indonesia's industry. I mean, they've literally helped build the country from the ground up. And you don't have to guess what they're about. Their vision statement lays it all out. They want to be a world-class, solution-driven company. But for decades, the keywords in that vision were always the same: heavy equipment, mining, and energy. That was their whole world, and man, it made them incredibly successful. So they built this empire on three main pillars. First up, construction machinery. They've been the exclusive distributor for Komatsu since way back in '72. So if you see one of those giant yellow excavators in Indonesia, chances are it came from them. Then you've got mining contracting, which they do through their subsidiary PAMA. These are the folks who do the actual digging for other big mining companies. And finally, they're in the mining game themselves, operating their own coal mines. So yeah, they're involved at every single step of the process. Now you see these three pillars, right? But there was one thing, one single commodity that tied them all together. And you guessed it, coal. Think about it. Coal drove their equipment sales, it was the main gig for their contracting business, and of course, it's what they were digging up themselves. Their entire business ecosystem was, quite literally, powered by coal. And if you want to see just how deep that connection was, just look at this. Back in 2021, a whopping 53%, more than half, of all their heavy equipment sales went directly to the mining sector. Just let that sink in. Their biggest business line was completely hooked on an industry dominated by coal. When mining was good, life was great for United Tractors. And their grip on the market? It was absolutely massive. By 2017, PAMA, their contracting division, controlled almost half of the entire market in Indonesia. That's insane. For every dollar spent on contract mining in the country, nearly 50 cents went straight to them. They weren't just in the market. For all intents and purposes, they were the market. But here's the thing about any powerful engine. It always has a weak spot. And for United Tractors, that weak spot was the very thing that made them so strong: coal. You could start to see these little cracks forming in the foundation, and the pressure of being so dependent on one single thing, well, it was starting to build up. So what's the problem with that? Well, coal is what you'd call a volatile fuel. Its price just goes all over the place. It can swing wildly based on global politics, demand, the weather, you name it. And when your whole company is strapped to that kind of a roller coaster, you better hold on tight, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. And you can see this roller coaster play out in their bottom line. In the boom years, like 2017, 2018, coal prices were high, demand for their equipment was through the roof, and they were raking in record profits. But then came the bust years, like 2015 and 2019. Prices would crash, the equipment market would dry up, and their revenue would just plummet. It's really, really hard to plan for the long term when you're living through that kind of boom and bust cycle. But this was about more than just unpredictable prices. This was something much bigger. I mean, listen to this. In their own 2020 annual report, they basically said it out loud. The proportion of coal is predicted to decline. They knew. The writing was on the wall. The global shift away from carbon was happening, and they had a choice: change or get left behind. So faced with this existential threat, what did United Tractors do? They didn't just sit there and hope for the best. Nope. They started to make a very deliberate, very strategic pivot. The goal wasn't just to patch up the cracks in their old foundation. It was to build completely new ones that were much, much stronger. And they came up with this really clear three-step game plan. Step 1, shore up the core business. Make what they already do as excellent and efficient as possible. Step 2, look for opportunities in adjacent fields, things like coking coal or other minerals. And then, step 3, the big one, actively go out and invest in brand new sectors, especially renewable energy.
You could really call it a strategy of stabilize, expand, and then transform.
And look, this wasn't just talk. They put their money where their mouth was. In 2015, boom, they get into the construction industry. Then, in 2018, they make this huge move into gold mining. Fast forward to 2022, they're investing heavily in hydropower. And by 2023, they're not just investing, they're operating their own mini hydropower plants. These were not small, tentative steps. These were decisive, multi-billion-dollar moves designed to completely reshape the company. All right, so after all those big, bold moves, what does the company actually look like today? Well, you can see they're actively hammering out a whole new identity, a new future for themselves. And a result? It's honestly a pretty different company now. Yeah, the traditional businesses are still there, but now they're also major players in gold, construction services, and renewables like hydropower. And they're even looking at things like nickel, which is, super important for batteries. You're literally watching the new, much more balanced United Tractors come into focus.
And you know what? This strategy is already showing results. Just take gold mining, for example. In just 1 year, the revenue it brought in jumped from 9% to 12% of the company's total. Now, that's not just some random number on a chart. That's hard proof that this pivot is actually working. It's generating real cash and breaking that old dependency on coal.
And really, when you get down to it, this whole pivot isn't just about the bottom line. It's about getting the entire company in line with their bigger vision, what they called their 2030 sustainability aspirations. It's this formal promise they've made to build a fundamentally different and much more durable business for the future. So there's no doubt about it. United Tractors has made some incredible moves. They've gone from being this giant that was totally dependent on coal to a much more diversified and modern company. But let's be real, this whole energy transition thing is a marathon, not a sprint. And that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Have they really done enough to build a business that can last? Or is this massive, company-altering pivot only just beginning?